Right now, companies are pouring millions, sometimes billions of dollars into artificial intelligence. Everyone's chasing that next big thing, right? That massive competitive edge. But here's the thing. There's a pretty big secret hiding behind all that hype. A shocking number of these huge, expensive projects just fail. So the real question is, why?
Get ready for this number. Depending on which study you look at, somewhere between 60 and 80% of all enterprise AI projects, they just don't deliver the value they were supposed to. Just let that sink in for a second. The vast majority of these incredibly expensive, resource-heavy projects are basically falling flat on their face.
Now, when things go wrong, it's so easy to point fingers, right? We blame the algorithm, we blame the data, we blame the tech. But honestly, that's almost always the wrong diagnosis. The technology itself, it's rarely the main problem. The real issues are usually a lot closer to home. So, if the code is solid and the models are powerful, what's the big disconnect? Where is all that potential value just vanishing into thin air between the data center and the company's bottom line? Well, it turns out the answer has almost nothing to do with technology at all. According to AI strategist Shruti, these massive failures almost always come down to three critical areas. And guess what? They are all completely non-technical. So today, we're going to unpack these three big failure points, starting with the one that everything else is built on.
All right, so the first reason projects fail is data, but probably not in the way you're thinking. The problem isn't about not having enough data. It's about not having any real control over the data you already have.
You know, it's funny because the problem is almost never a scarcity of data. I mean, most big companies are absolutely swimming in it. They're collecting information from every single customer interaction, every transaction. They are drowning in the stuff. The raw material is there, for sure. The real issue is the condition of that material.
This is the real culprit. You've got data locked away in different departments, all stored in totally different formats, and there's no single person or group with the authority to make it all speak the same language. Just picture this. Your AI project grinds to a halt because the marketing team, the sales team, and the finance team all describe a customer in three completely different ways. To a machine, that isn't three interesting perspectives, it's just pure chaos.
And that's the key right there. Your brilliant data scientists, they can't build a strong house on a foundation of pure chaos. Getting your data in order isn't really a technical problem, it's an organizational one. It takes leadership and the actual authority to make and enforce decisions.
Okay, so that leads us right into the second big failure mode. And this one is all about people. Because look, you can build the most incredible, game-changing AI tool in the world, but if your team doesn't actually use it, well, then it's just a really, really expensive decoration. See, technology by itself, it doesn't change anything. For a tool to actually have an impact, people have to change how they work. And that doesn't just happen because a new app shows up on their desktop one morning. Projects fail when they treat adoption like an afterthought, when they just assume people will be excited to use the new thing.
Getting people on board is an active process. It takes real work. You have to explain why this change is happening, not just what the new tool does. You have to get the actual users involved from day one, get their feedback, build their trust. And you need a plan for the human side of the change that's just as detailed as you plan for the code.
And that brings us to the third big pitfall, something every project manager has nightmares about: scope creep. In the world of AI, this isn't just an annoyance, it can be a project killer. It's what happens when a project completely loses its focus and its discipline.
I bet you've seen this happen. A project starts with a really clear, simple goal. But then, the demo goes well, people get excited, the what-ifs start flying around the room, and suddenly, that project that was meant to do one thing really, really well is now expected to solve 10 different problems. And that, my friends, is a trap. An AI model that is a genius at one specific task can completely fall apart when you suddenly make its job 10 times bigger.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the three main reasons AI projects fail. It sounds a little bleak, I know, but here's the good news. There is a really clear pattern among the projects that actually succeed. So let's flip this around. What does a winning project look like?
It really comes down to this simple blueprint. First, they start with a crystal clear, measurable goal. Not something vague like improve efficiency, but something concrete like reduce customer service call times by 20%. Second, there is a real person, a named human being who is accountable for that outcome. And third, they build in honest check-ins from the very beginning to ask the tough question: is this thing actually delivering value, or are we just playing with cool tech? And this, really, is the final, most important takeaway. The AI projects that actually work, the ones that deliver real value to a business, they aren't always the biggest or the flashiest. They're not the most ambitious moonshots. They are, quite simply, the most disciplined.
So as you think about your next AI initiative, or maybe even the ones you're running right now, the first question you ask shouldn't be, what can the technology do? The real question, the most important question is, are we as an organization prepared to do the hard leadership work it takes to make it succeed? Because ultimately, that is the difference between another failure and a real success.